Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Los Angeles-based jazz pianist, composer, and educator Arturo O'Farrell. We talked to him in early June 2020 during the Coronavirus Quarantine from his base in LA to talk about his latest recording, 4 Questions, featuring the great Dr. Cornel West on the title composition, 4 Questions. It was released as the lockdown intensified on April 10, 2020, and this album happens to be the first one in his famed recording catalog to exclusively include all originally written compositions, weaving together empowered messages for the times, specifically now that we need it. 4 Questions portrays the pioneering pianist as outspoken as ever on the obligation of artists to speak truth to the great injustices occurring across the globe. Along with this pandemic and racial unrest in America, this is the time to have this material out, and Arturo explains. Enjoy.
Joe Domino, Neon Jazz Radio, Kansas City, Missouri. What's up?
Hi, Joe. How are you? How's everything?
Oh, man. This is a weird David Lynch movie we're in, but, you know,
gosh. It's funny you said David Lynch because I love David Lynch, and I love National Velvet. I love Raise Your Hand and some of my favorite stuff in the world.
I took a chance, man. I've been throwing that out for the last month or so, hoping that people feel the same way because I love Lynch. Have you heard those weather reports that he does?
No.
Oh, my God.
He does weather reports?
Oh, my God, dude. You got to check it out. Every day he gets in like this like rustic bunker and his hair's everywhere and he has a cigarette and a cup of coffee and he's like, welcome to Los Angeles, California. And he does latitude, longitude, and the temperature. And of course in LA it never changes. So he's just sitting there talking about, you know, the weather. It doesn't really change that much and he does it every day for like a couple minutes every morning.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Where is he from?
If you just go do David Lynch weather report in Google, it'll pull it up. And I think it goes to his website. Yeah. So anyway.
He's a really interesting person. He seems like a really strange dude anyway, besides the fact his movies are so brilliant.
But I've seen a documentary on him and how he rolls. He is just a deeply creative cat. Like his brain is just, he eats, sleeps, and breathes creativity in a way that I don't think a lot of people can conceptualize.
I wonder if he's a quiet dude. I wonder if in the end of the day he says, because the most creative people I've ever met usually is really quiet folks. You know, they're just kind of internalized and deep and profound. Like sometimes I look at people who are doing creative work and I wonder where their brains are at. So, you know, I dabble in creative work myself.
Yeah, totally. I think probably they had a contest some years back where you could win a trip to LA and go to a diner and just sit with them. And I think he's that kind of guy. He's probably introspective, probably likes to be at a booth and just kind of let his brain go. And he probably doesn't talk that much. I can definitely see that, but, he's a gem for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm in LA right now, so.
Oh, okay, cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think the place that he goes to is like I don't know, it's some old diner on Sunset. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's something that he's done to like raise money for his foundation. So he'll, you know, offer people opportunities and they buy tickets to see if they can raffle and get it there. But at any rate, seems to me during COVID-19, when I've been kind of taking a temperature of all the phone calls, LA people, West Coast people seem a little bit more relaxed, probably because of the latitude of being able to be near nature and getting in a car, whereas New York, you're a little bit more confined.
I think, I'll take it out to the truth, I think some Los Angelenos have been practicing social isolation for decades. Kind of live, they get in their cars, they go to work, they come back in their cars. I mean, people in downtown LA and walking neighborhoods, of which there are some, are not as dense as New York, but they do get in each other's space. New York is nuts. I've lived in New York my whole life, and there's no way that you can't live in New York without being continuously in somebody's cough or somebody's hand or somebody's, you know, it's just, there's no way that's going to happen. But it's also, you know, it's also one of the most beautiful things about New York. One of the most beautiful things about New York is you get to a conversation with anybody. Like, just to moan and complain. Like the person across the subway car from you will go, it's so hot in this car, I can't take it.
Yeah, my dad was actually born in Brooklyn and raised in Long Island, so I've spent some time up there, and I was just
so
always
funny, dude.
Yeah, and I was just always amazed at how gregarious and open and just the way New Yorkers roll. It's great, man. I wish I recorded more of the conversations when my uncle was alive. He had a pastry shop, and those boys would get in that back room and weave together bullshit you couldn't even believe. And I was just like, where's my recorder? Because it would have been golden just to hear because that was when Joey Buttafuoco and that whole thing was going on, and they were like, yeah, and they were like, I saw Buttafuoco watering his lawn, and and they went on and on and on, but it was,
that's a piece of Americana. A lot of young people don't know who Joey Buttafuoco was.
Totally.
The Lolita, what was her name? The Lolita.
Long Island Lolita.
The Long Island Lolita, yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I were laughing about this. So we were trying to tell my son about Joey Buttafuoco and the Long Island Lolita. He had no clue what we were talking about.
Right. It's weird.
Yeah, well, he's 25. He missed that whole era.
Yeah. Well, probably good for him. I almost wish there were certain eras that I didn't remember, but that's age, man. You start talking to kids about things you hope they know, and it's like sometimes the light bulb just doesn't go off. So
yeah, I make references all the time now, and my younger band members just look at me like I'm from Mars.
Yeah. No, I dig it totally. Well, I know that we have a window here, and I really kind of want to just focus. I want to focus on your new album, obviously, but kind of in the context of this COVID-19 world. And prior to getting into 4 questions, when this COVID-19 thing started in early to mid-March, it was kind of like the airplane going into the towers. It's a big moment for all of us. Everything stopped. Everything changed. What happened? What was your personal narrative? Like, when did you know, all right, the jazz is going to be silent?
Well, I've been teaching at UCLA part of the year. So I was in Los Angeles. I've been there for about 2 weeks. And I guess around March 10th was my last class, and I was supposed to play the University of San Diego, UC San Diego. Big, huge show with a cast of thousands and a film premiere and a panel discussion. And musicians in my band started calling me up and saying, hey, man, it's really, really tricky to cancel flights. People are getting sick. I'm not sure I'm going to go. I got a call from my son. He was in Madrid. Couldn't get out of Madrid. I had to float him in the airfare. And by the 14th, everything, literally everything for the next month, 2 months, 3 months was canceled. All my bookings. I had premiere at Columbia Theater, at the Miller Theater in Columbia University. And I mean, a ton of work just disappeared. So my first response, quite frankly, was, I'm lucky. I have a position in a major teaching institution. I'm not. But my first reaction was, oh my God, what are my musicians going to do? Because some of them they're all mostly freelancers. And they teach some of them, but really, the idea of their livelihood disappearing entirely filled me with terror, as it does both my sons are musicians. And so, honestly, the very first thing I did was started a fund. I dug into my pocket and I created something called the After Latin Jazz Alliance Emergency Artists Fund. And we started, and we watched, we asked for other funders to help us, and we watched that fund come in and out. We've raised over $40,000 that we've given out to freelance musicians, singers, dancers, artists, people who are completely dependent on freelance artistic work to make their living. And we just raised our goal to $100,000. But the need is great. I got to tell you, I look over the applications, and they are master musicians, people who you wouldn't even guess that are really hurting, that depend on getting on airplanes and going to other places to make a living. So that was my first thought, was to help people pay their bills. My second thought was to somehow find a way to create a normalcy. So literally the first week of the shutdown, we started what is called virtual Birdland. I've been playing at Birdland in New York City for 25 years, and so we recreated that gig. I called up the club owner and said, "Can we do a virtual Birdland?" And he said, "Sure." And we get the band together every week, along with the club owner, myself, and we make a set. And so literally every week for the past, now going on our 8th week, we've had a gig at Birdland, and it's been seen by tens of thousands of people all over the world. The pandemic was obviously the first of a list of things that really ail our society. But it's scary and depressing, and it's scary to watch what it does to young people and to what it does to young lives. As we were saying earlier, I'm not a kid. But when you're 20, 21, 25, and you watch your whole entire understanding of life disappear, that really messes up your mind. So my heart really goes out to them, and in that sense, I've also been helping my musicians. I'm on the board of directors of the clinic, and so I encourage them to seek help, because some people, don't understand depression and heartache and don't deal as well with it as others, and so that's kind of been my mindset about the pandemic.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're kind of, I think, at a crossroads of a lot of things right now, and I think that part of what's going on right now obviously is race-related, but I think it's also class-related. I think we're at a point now where people have been out of jobs and despondent. There's nothing left to lose. There's no concert, baseball game, basketball game to divert anything, and it's like it's on, and I think there's a precipice that's akin to the 60s where things need to change, and this has been ongoing, and we've always gotten diverted from things that have happened, but I think we're really, of everything that's going on, as scary as it is, we really have a chance to have a real win for humanity right now.
Well, I think, I totally agree. I think it dawns on people that that didn't dawn on people, but it's dawning on us now that $500 billion in subsidies were handed out to corporations. All kinds of subsidies. I think the last figures I read were truly alarming. Something like 97% of the government aid went to the 1% corporations and individuals, and so we're talking about looting. We're talking about people looting, and the looters aren't on the street. Looters are in government and Wall Street, and it's frightening. It's incredibly frightening to see how the pandemic reveals what a thin veneer we have in this nation about the equality of opportunity.
You're right. You're totally right. Well, I have one more question for you related to 4 questions, and sure. I want to know, it's got to be bittersweet to, and you're doing so much. I mean, that's wonderful that you've created this fund for all these cats, and you have empathy in your heart's big. That's just enormous. And my question is it bittersweet right now to have an album come out during a pandemic? People can listen to it. You probably have more latitude along those lines, but you're not going to be able to back it up live. Have you thought about that?
Well, I used to think like that. Just to watch downbeat articles and polls, and I love performing, and I will do that for the rest of my days. But in terms of what an artist does and why I do what I do, I don't do what I do just to perform. It's a beautiful, 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 beautiful result of creating music. But I know this sounds weird, but just creating music is fascinating to me. Very difficult, very labor-intensive, mind and emotionally draining thing to do. But I have to tell you that that album was so beautiful to make with Cornel West and the choir and the orchestra, and those are things that will live with me forever. Whether it comes out in the pandemic or it comes out to, albums are funny things. Sometimes people embrace them, sometimes people don't, but you did it. You put it forth. You put your statement into the world. And I don't feel bittersweet. I thought a lot about this too. I don't feel bittersweet that it came out this time period. I'm actually grateful that it came out during these very extraordinarily charged racial protests, because the voice of Dr. West is obviously, and the piece is about W.E.B. Du Bois' souls of black folk, and more questions that we've been asking apparently for hundreds of years about how do we deal with injustice? How do we deal with depression? How do we deal with insult? And so in a way, this album came out in the pandemic, and that might work against being performed. But the work itself couldn't have come out in the timelier way. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy.
Wonderful.
It asked the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. Arturo, I think we went right up to the door of what we were allotted. So, hey, thanks for taking some minutes.
Joe,
Thank
you.
Neon Jazz.
It's a pleasure to meet you. By the way, I live in Brooklyn, so we're fellow Brooklynites.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Los Angeles, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Arturo for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.